Hello, welcome to another McLaren Fans podcast. I'm your host, Andy Donnelly, joined this week, as always, by Sarah Merritt. Say hello, Sarah.
Hello, Sarah.
And our guest joining us this week is Saud, who's been on the podcast before. Hello, Saud. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. So Canada, let's crack on with it. I actually have two positives out of the whole weekend to put down. My first one is it was good to be back in Canada.
Yes, after a few years away, it's a circuit that is on my list of places I'd like to go. Totally agree with you. It's great to be back in Canada.
Yeah. However, we didn't. I must have missed it on the coverage, but there was no obligatory driver's shots of them having poutine down in downtown Montreal this time around, which it kind of goes hand in hand with Crofty having a steak with somebody in Texas, Austin, Texas. So, so I was, that was something that was missing from the normal coverage that you would have. But there you go. So yeah, good to be back in Canada. It's a track I like. I always think there's decent races there, or has been, or there's always something. And obviously every now and then it rains. So yeah.
Which introduces the jeopardy that you love, Andy.
I love a bit of jeopardy in the races. So it brings on some excitement because it can get a little bit boring. Anyway, so obviously we had the practice on the Friday, kind of a little bit of wet weather on that as well. And we seemed to do okay. But we went on to quali. I was hopeful for both cars to get through to Q3. I actually think we would have done if Lando hadn't had some engine issues. I believe it was a sensor issue. Is that right? Is that what you've heard?
That's what I've read, yeah, engine sensor issue. So they then returns to an older engine that's already in the pool that had quite some considerable mileage on it from what I read.
Yeah.
Which obviously doesn't help at Canada with the long straight.
Yeah. And the DRS.
It's somewhere where you'd want to have the best available engine, isn't it? Have a bit of oomph.
Yeah. So obviously it was a wet qualifying, which I actually thought was brilliant. It mixed everything up a little bit.
Definitely.
Like I say, added that jeopardy that I quite like. And I was a little bit worried for Danny Rick getting through to Q3. He was just right on the cusp, but just made it. But yeah, sort of, I thought we did the best we could have done in quali, really. Let's be honest.
I would agree.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, mate, I know this is the McLaren Fans podcast, but just give me 1 minute to say Fernando Alonso, hey? I mean,
wow.
Yeah, everybody that isn't an Alpine fan was still going, wow, look where Fernando is. I think we all felt a bit good about that. Do you agree, Andy?
Nah. Anyway, it was good because it meant everything was mixed up a little bit. But my kind of feeling is that those are the opportunities we should be trying to get. We should be up there taking those opportunities when things are mixed up a little bit. I'll probably get into that a little bit later on.
I think you're right. I just couldn't begrudge the old geezer the opportunity. I'm a woman in my 40s. I like the idea that we had someone in their 40s jumping up there, So,
it wasn't. I guess the thing was, it wasn't a one-off. Pretty much most of his laps were all spot on and getting him quite high up the grid. So, obviously a wealth of experience, knowing the track, and everything else is going to help. So
big kahunas as well.
Yes, quite possibly those needed as well. But yeah, it goes to show that in the right car, in the right conditions, he can still drive. I don't think there's any real doubt in that.
Yes.
There you go. Sarah, what was your impression of quali? How did you?
I actually enjoyed it, and not often you get rain in qualifying. these days is mainly you get it either on a Friday or on a race day. So it was nice to get rain. I think the last time we had rain was Spa last year in qualifying, if my memory serves me correctly. And obviously that one didn't end too well for Lando, unfortunately. But
or
I
any
think,
of
like
the
you
fans
said,
watching either.
well, yeah, true. But yeah, like with you, I think we did the best we could. I was really happy with Daniel this weekend, actually. I don't know about you, but he was my number one positive for this weekend, as to how close he was to Lando when they were both equal. Normally you can tell how good your package is by looking at how close the drivers are to each other. And when they're 1 or 2 tenths off each other, we're getting the maximum we could. And I thought he did pretty well to get us in the top 10 in qualifying in those tricky conditions, to be fair.
Yeah, I agree. That was my second positive of the weekend.
Sorry.
So that's fine.
Oh no, we haven't used it up already, have we?
We have, yeah. In the first 10 minutes. Sorry about that. But yeah, I kind of feel like maybe Dan has got to grips with the car after a bit of a struggling start. His times are matching Lando's or getting near Lando's or beating Lando's more often than not. There's not a second and a half between them anymore that we saw not so long ago. And also, if you watched any of you watched Ted's Notebook on the quali, I get the kind of feeling that he's staying for next year already, and that it's a done deal.
I think he's actually said that, hasn't he?
Has he? What, it's a done deal?
No, he's just said, I'm not going anywhere, which, he's not said the words, it's a done deal. He said, I've got a contract for next season, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. Obviously, you always get the speculation and a bit of silly season, but
which I'm glad about. To be fair, he's such a good driver. Give him time, he'll turn it around.
We've just got to give both drivers a decent car, really. That's the sort of rub of it. Should we get onto the race? I'm just going to go straight in there and just go pit stops. So
now, when this happened, millions of people around the world, and by millions I mean about 20, went, oh God, Andy Donnelly's going to go on about the pit stops on the podcast, isn't he? And I saw a couple of tweets saying, oh, Andy's going to go on about the podcast, the pit stops. So here we go. Let's have it. Yeah.
So you know what? I can stomach a slow pit stop. These things happen.
Yes.
I'm quite, that's what happens. But not having the tyres ready, that for me is pretty inexcusable in some respects. There's something massively gone wrong somewhere.
Okay, so the question for me is, do we know all the facts? I
No.
think the answer is no.
Yeah, exactly.
We have had a very good season for pit stops.
Yes.
Give them a blimmin' break. They're allowed one balls up.
Yeah. And then we double stacked later as well and did it okay. So
you were happy with that one, Andy? Did you let Zach know? Or
I rang him after the race. Yeah, but I can be disappointed as a fan. I've every right to be disappointed because those slow pit stops pretty much took us out of the points. I would have been over the moon this weekend with a 9th and 10th finish. I felt that was probably the best we could have gotten out of that car. Maybe a little bit further up with some of the retirements, but as far as the package was going, we weren't a fast car this weekend. We had no pace. We, as Lando said, no grip, nothing. So to get a 9th and 10th and double points would have been fantastic. I would have said, right, great. We've minimised the hit. Move on to the next one. Unfortunately, the pit stops did us, and it wasn't so much just not having the tyres ready. They then put them on the wrong side of the car. And it just felt like...
You know what it's like yourself. When you're rushing to do something, it'll always go wrong, won't it?
These guys are the pinnacle of motorsport, and they practice.
But maybe they didn't know Lando was coming in. Maybe they were already out there for Dan. Yeah.
But
we don't... That's all I would say. We don't know all the facts yet. And Andreas has stated on his statement today that they're looking into it, that they apologised to the drivers, that it wasn't good enough. Yeah, I get that. I really do. I'll give you a positive though.
Go on.
The slow pit stops we took them under was it a VSC or a safety car?
BSC, yeah.
They could have been even more slow. They would have.
Yeah.
They hurt us less during that period than they would have done.
Oh, if it was normal race conditions, we would have been fun last with both cars.
Exactly. So there you go. There's a little ray of.
All right.
And we nearly got the point.
I'm going to counteract that with Puolando got a time penalty for pit lane speeding after his 36-second pit stop. Oh.
Yeah, it never rains when it pours. Yeah.
So, yes, I agree. We've been pretty spot on with pit stops all year.
Yeah.
It's a blip. It's not going to happen every race like this, but God, I was frustrated. I was really frustrated. And yeah, I think that's fine. You can be frustrated. You can be disappointed.
Yeah.
But what you can't be is...
What should you not be? What should you not be? Let's say it together.
A dickhead, Sarah.
You should not be an arsehole on Twitter that has a go at everyone.
Yeah.
And that's my 2 minutes of Sarah here, where I'm going to jump in and say,
right, your turn to rant.
I had a lot of people messaging me last night, not because they follow me, they don't know me, they're not people I've ever seen before. I replied to McLaren's tweet and I said something along the lines of, we move forward to the next race, guys. That's the spirit. Assess what we've done wrong and move on. We've been through hard times, and I know me and Andy have talked about this before, the Honda years, as we call them. We know that. We've all been through that. And I said, we just need to move forward and do the best we can. And all these people that were sending nasty tweets to the McLaren account, I said, they should get behind you and support you, because that's what you need. And I really do believe that. 700 odd people work at McLaren Racing. They didn't all make a mistake yesterday, like one tweet that I saw that said, not a single employee at McLaren did anything good yesterday. What world does that person live in? And there were some quite abusive tweets just going to McLaren admin, and I'm a bit like, well, why would you even send that to the Twitter account? Well, she doesn't build the car, what are you doing? But in general, there was a bit of a pile-on last night to myself and some other people who had said, let's move forward, let's learn from this and go on. And there was just some nasty people just tweeting stuff, having a go. And I don't think that helps anyone. It might make them feel better because they've got over it. But like you said, Andy, being disappointed is one thing. Wanting the best for our team is another. Being abusive on Twitter, no way. So yeah, that's my 2 pence on that. I don't know if you want to add anything, Saud or Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, I don't personally see that kind of stuff that you talk about. Maybe that's because I'm not as active as I suppose other people are, but I try and stay away from that because it's all negativity. Negativity gets you nowhere at the end of the day. So, and I'm sure that's exactly what the team are doing. As we've all spoken about before, they're always their harshest critics. They're the ones who live, breathe the team, the sport, the heritage, all within inside the MTC. And we do that also, but from a different perspective. Yeah. And I understand the frustration, but imagine those guys and girls that are working super hard into the long hours. They're feeling just as frustrated as we are, and if not more. It's their life and soul and blood that's going into that car. So any mistake that does happen, it's an honest mistake. It's not because someone's annoyed one day they're going to do a purposely mistake. Yep. So I'm always backing them. You always got to back them, because at the end of the day they will come back and they will win. They will be on the top step of the podium in more than just one race in the season. So we believe in McLaren. We keep that trending.
Hashtag, yep.
Hashtag, keep that trending. And that's the only way. That's our way of helping and pushing that team forward. Just that moral support on social media, and for example at Silverstone in a couple of weeks, you see how many McLaren fans there'll be there. They've just got to be positive. They'll ignore all of that. It's just not even 1% of the people that have that negativity. It's just it's not worth your time.
It's equivalent. Imagine any of us out there, in who's ever's listening to this. Imagine you've just gone for your day at work. You've had a day at work. It's not been your best day. It's not been your worst. It's not been your best day. And you leave work, and by the time you got home, you've had 500 people that you don't know on Twitter reply to a tweet that you've maybe put out saying, I've had not the best day at work, and they've all called you a dickhead and said, "Oh, this and that," and have to kind of, you need to put your ideas up and everything. It's got nothing to do with them. It's not going to make any difference apart from just bring you down even more. You wouldn't, meet somebody that you've never met before in a pub who's just, "Oh, I've had a really bad day." Well, you wouldn't turn around and say some of the things that people are saying on there. So why would you do it online? One of the things that I would always say is, if you're not going to say it to somebody's face in person, why would you do it online? I try to keep that, fair enough. Every now and then we might slip out something slightly different that you don't want to say and all that kind of stuff. But, it's a rare occasion, but just be nice.
Yeah.
On this occasion, these people were going through replies to McLaren's tweet, and anyone that put anything nice, they were having a go at them, going, "Oh, the car shit," and having a go at all of them. And I think that's a pretty sad existence.
Well,
I'm a supporter. I'm going to support the team.
Let's say the car is shit. Maybe it is. It is a bit of a. It's not there yet. It's there's work to go on it. But I'm pretty sure people at McLaren know that it's not the best car that
More than we do, because they are in the nuts and bolts of this, and we only see a small amount of information.
Exactly. They know that they're not where they want to be. They know that have we gone backwards? I wouldn't. I don't think we ever go backwards in F1. People overtake you essentially.
I've never seen anyone reverse around the track.
Well, you never know. It might happen in one of the races. God knows.
What did we say last year, Andy? We said that this year was going to be a strange year because we didn't know who was going to come out on new regulations and so on. Here we are a few races in and we seem to have forgotten that, So let's remember that. This was going to be a strange year. We never knew where we were going to be. I don't see Williams fans abusing their team like that. Maybe if we'd been down the bottom from the start, people would be happy to see us move up. But just because there's a bit of moving about, I look like I'm dancing there. This is, let's not ever video this.
I mean, if you would ask me now, we're not the fourth best team by nowhere. Maybe we're the fifth or sixth. Certainly Alpine look pretty solid. Haas pull out some amazing qualifying, then drop off into races every now and then.
Yep.
AlphaTauri look pretty solid as well. There's plenty out there that are going to sort of, getting their act together. Mercedes, we were ahead of Mercedes the first 3 or 4 races of this season. And look where they are now. Was that Lewis's podium? George has had, top 5 finishes the last few races as well. This year is all about the development race of understanding the cars and what comes for the next 6 or 7 years after this change and how we deal with that. And come the end of the season is the only time you can judge where we are in that pecking order.
And also the other difficulty as well, you've got the budget cap as well this year.
Yeah.
So that's making it even harder to find the right areas to develop at the right time. Because I think I don't know if we're going to touch up on it, but I know Andreas has said we're going to exceed that cap at some point.
And
so that's not
everybody send £1 on a postal note or whatever to Zach Brown at McLaren Technology Centre, Woking, Surrey. And I guess if everybody sends £1, then that'll help us with the budget cap.
I'll happily do that. I think McLaren have got how many followers? Have got how many million followers? That'll help, won't it?
That's all right, yeah.
Yeah.
So, surely that kind of works towards the revenue because it's
3.2 million.
Right. Well, there you go. Yeah. It's not a bad return, is it? If everybody sent us £1.
Wouldn't cover much though, would it?
Well,
might cover half a year's wages for one of the drivers.
Maybe I have to put a £5 in,
Yeah. So let's just finish off on the race. Obviously, I was kind of hoping for a little bit more when the last 15 laps we had the safety car reset. But I think both drivers were just caught in a DRS train after that. Yeah. No matter having new tyres, we were essentially the same as every other car in front at that point. So, a P11 and a P15. I was kind of hoping that Dan might have held on to that P10 place, but it just didn't happen, unfortunately. but like everybody said, yeah, right. It was a shocker. It wasn't our best. It's out of the way now. What do we do? Let's see how we do in Silverstone. The time to worry is when every race is a bit of a shocker. Every, like you said, Sarah, going back to the McHonda years when, it was like, okay, today, what's our grid penalty going to be? And things like that. How far back are we starting? So, So anything else from you guys to sort of bring up on the race itself?
I don't know about you. Oh, sorry.
No, please go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm more of a theme for this year. We're seeing, because the cars can follow each other more closely, we're seeing more DRS trains. And at circuits where you would think there would be more opportunities to overtake, i.e. Canada, we're seeing the opposite effect of that. And that's probably, clawing back. That's probably, we're seeing closer racing, but unfortunately, because everyone's closer, everyone's in the DRS train. Whereas last year it was all spread out, and you might find that quicker car coming through the pack. So it's a case of balancing that act, isn't it? So some races you're finding this year is great racing, but Canada, I found it a little bit more disappointing than normal. Maybe because my expectations for Canada are quite high anyway. But I found that, because even if we were quite slow this weekend, I still thought we could have overtaken a couple of cars had the DRS train not been there.
Yeah, and it was mentioned in commentary a couple of times, wasn't it? It's quite frustrating when you want to see that action and you feel that it's been limited. But I guess that's another thing about this year. We talked about this year being a learning year. They might need to tweak the regulations, and I don't know what capabilities or they have to do that. Maybe perhaps for Canada, it's where the DRS zones are and how big they are. Maybe there's something to play with there. Because there's a lot, isn't there?
Yeah,
there's a lot of DRS there. So, but yeah, you're right. It's interesting. It'd be very interesting to keep monitoring that for the season ahead as well, and looking at which circuits play out differently now.
Yeah, I think also just on that, I think it brings into the sort of more into the fore of strategy, and maybe because of where we are, we should be being a bit braver on the strategy. Maybe sometimes sometimes you think, just go for it, just do something different. I don't know if any of you saw. Obviously, you saw George go out on the slicks in the rain, which didn't quite work out. But it could have done. He could have had pole position because of that. But I don't know if you saw a few beginning of the season. I think Sky did an interview with Jos Capito from Williams, and he just said, "Well, we're at the back, got nothing to lose, so we're just going to do whatever we want and see what happens." Because and maybe where we are, this is a learning season, like we've said. Let's just try something different. Let's go for something crazy, and I don't mean something crazy like sort of on a dry track, put wet tires on, or anything like that. Nothing too extreme like that. But certainly, your car's stuck in a DRS train. You were going for a two-stop. Well, why not get out there and put some softs on for the last 10 laps and see if you get out of it, or something like that. See if you can actually overtake some of these. And I guess for that, you probably need a bit more balance and a bit more pace in the car. But there'll be times where we can do that. So
yeah, I think you're right, and I like where you're coming from with that. I guess the difficulty is the more brave you are, brave is also close to stupid at times, isn't it? So do you want to scoop up the points that you can bank what you can, or risk all the ones that you could be banking to get nothing? What would you, because then you'd be saying it was a disappointing race because we didn't score any points today.
We've got two cars out there, split the strategies.
Okay, yeah.
Also depends on how far up the field we are. Yeah. Would you take that risk if we're in the top five?
If you're fifth and sixth, well, why would you do it? But if you're 14th and 15th, go for it. There's absolutely no difference finishing 14th, 15th to 18th and 19th.
No, I agree. Well, anything outside the top 10.
Roll the dice.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I was happy to see that when I looked at the championship standings, are we not in fourth place?
We are.
Yeah.
Only just Alpina are creeping up on us.
They are indeed, but
Yeah.
we are still there at the moment. So
We are.
No,
Yeah.
we'll finish ahead of them this year.
Yes, I'm confident of that as well. I think they're. I think them and Aston are going to be one of those teams where it depends on which track you turn up at, how good they're going to be. Haas a little bit like that as well. Whereas I think we're just kind of pretty much middle of the road all the way through the track so far, which actually in reality, if you think about it, is not a bad base to start from.
no,
If we can get a bit more grip and a bit more sort of pace in that car, we could be up there.
I agree.
Yeah. So, okay, so it's Monday. There's 2 weeks sort of until Silverstone. When do we think the new McLaren kit for Silverstone will drop on the store?
Monday.
5 minutes before the
Monday.
race.
Yeah.
Far too late. I'll tell you what, though, you could more reliably get some Google Wheels delivered to you in time, because I would make sure they got to you.
Yeah, I can attest to that. So
Hey!
I've got last year's one from the win.
Nice. See,
And then I've got Google
everyone
Wheels.
needs that.
Yeah, and then Danny Rick
Oh, very good. Very good.
adding onto that one as well.
Yeah, brilliant.
Mine are all on the fridge. So I'm not going to bring my fridge upstairs to just put it in front of the camera. It's a bit of a big ask.
Just so you know, Andy doesn't hang keys on his fridge. He's got fridge magnets. That's because of the versatility of the fact that these are available as badges, magnets, and key rings.
Excellent. And on that plug, I reckon it's time to wrap this up.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us, Sam. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll be back again after Silverstone. Are any of you guys going to Silverstone this year?
I have not got any tickets, but I'm still looking at doing hospitality on Friday and then trying to talk myself out of it. So don't say no until it hasn't happened. I am going to Goodwood Festival of Speed on Friday. So anyone listening that's going to Goodwood, give me a shout and let me know and we can say hello.
Yeah.
I'll be there Friday. Got general admission tickets on Friday.
Enjoy that. Yeah, maybe you can give us a bit of an overview of what it's like on the next podcast, Sarah. Because some of us that live way north, it's a bit of a journey.
That's a lame excuse. You've travelled to Japan for a race. You can go to Goodwood.
I can't fly to Goodwood. Technically, I can't fly to Japan either. Anyway, right, let's wrap it up there. And back next time after Silverstone.